G'day guys, my name is Lord Tomo here with a special review. As you may or may not know, the majority of my reviews on my channel are mostly Sonic stuff. Of course, I like to collect other stuff and interested in other stuff as well. Besides obviously Sonic, I do collect other comics and whatnot, and in this spot in particular I have a whole bunch of Super Sentai Power Ranger robots, which hopefully down the track I would like to review in a more open space, of course. But of course, this review is going to be focusing on one particular comic that I quite enjoy reading. I think it's quite interesting. I do recommend it. It's the Haunt resin statue by Todd McFarlane. And if you guys are into the whole comic world and whatnot, you probably recognize this guy's name. Also, you might recognize this actual character as well. It's a fairly new comic. It's been roughly about, if I'm not mistaken, about 2.5 years thereabouts. So it's pretty new. But look, we'll talk more about this character. We'll talk more about the statue as the review goes on. Of course, with most of my reviews, I like to talk briefly about the box. Now, what sold me, besides obviously the comic, it was the box art itself. I know nobody really wants to know too much about boxes, but I think for the most part, a box is kind of a stepping stone to the actual statue or any collectible whatsoever. How do you sell a statue if A, you haven't seen it, and B, all you have is picturettes or featurettes in this case. So in this picture, all you have is the actual picture of Haunt, which, for you, just a little knowledge for you, is a combination, or you could say it's a fusion between two brothers. And obviously you have the metaphysical world or the spiritual world, which is the costume, and you have the real life guy, which is the actual main character, or the both main characters. They're basically, in order for this existence to happen, they have to merge, which is a pretty nice concept and whatnot. As you can probably see, I got this for roughly about $325. Since I've been a loyal customer in my comic store, the comic shop in Liverpool, back in Australia, I got this for way cheaper than what it is, which is alright. Let's turn it around. Now, there's only 450 in the world. I got 241. Kind of the mid-range. I'm happy with it. You know, then again, I'm not the whole, oh, you gotta have number one for it to be super rare. That's not always my case. Another picture of the actual character. You have like a kind of a semi-full moon, if you can really call that, and you have Haunt. This character is actually called Haunt. And it's got this very symbol there. At the very back, there goes my phone. At the very back, you have obviously just a picture of what it's actually going to look like. It does have a few description. It's a 12-inch statue tall. The Haunt statue projects all the energy and intensity of the popular comic book series Haunt. Once again, you know, I'm obviously not getting paid for this, but I highly do recommend you guys, you know, look into the comic. It's definitely, you know, it's enjoyable. It's a nice read. If you flip it around, and you got another picture of Haunt, and that's pretty much the box. At the very bottom, absolutely nothing. At the very top is just the logo. So enough about that. Let's open this, because I'm sure you guys do not want to hear me talk. I want to apologize for my voice. I'm a bit under the weather here. It's just out of nowhere. Just Sydney got hit with such a hard weather. Okay, so let's put this aside for now. Now, one of the major reasons I did this review, I had this for a while, but one of the reasons, because I wanted to see other people's opinions of this statue before I decide to put my review. And funny enough, maybe I'm not looking in the right place, but I haven't been able to find an effective review other than the promotional video of the actual person, you know, McFarlane, the guy that, you know, more or less published. Now, just a little nice thing. I do like what this guy does. Gotta flip this around properly. You just have a picture of the Haunt symbol there. Pretty nice. I know it's looking too much into it. Now, absolutely there's nothing in here. That's to be expected. And this is what ideally you're meant to get in for the first time. Nice and good. Now, this statue does, admittedly, I'm not too intense with the whole statues and what's out there and the mechanics and what they use, but this introduces a pretty nice gimmick, if you can really call it, which I think is awesome from a collector's point of view. Now let's just take this out and put this plastic aside. Now here's the actual statue. Now the good thing about this guy, gotta be careful with this. Oh, this is pretty nice. The good thing about this is Todd McFarlane actually signed, I'm pretty sure he signed every single piece. Or maybe I'm just the lucky one, I don't know, 100% sure. But he signed every single, from my understanding, every single Haunt thing, which is pretty awesome. So that's pretty nice. It's kind of specialized. Then again, a lot of things. At the very bottom, you just have 2009, 2012, Top of Iron, International. Pretty awesome. Now, the base itself, pardon me, just my throat. Now, the base itself is generally got the hauntish feel. Just the ectoplasm, if you can really call it that, kind of the greyish, gritty sort of feel. Now, if any of you guys are aware of Todd McFarlane's previous work, which is Spawn, which is another comic I'm really into, he does have this nitty gritty sort of feel in his characters. It's an empowering darkness. Now, I'll touch up on that when I have this fully set up, so I can explain it more effectively, because it's hard to really explain just talking with the base. Okay, so here is the actual statue itself. Now, before I connect this, I want to show you quickly just the statue itself. If I can, okay. Now, for those of you who haven't read the comic and want to know what his superpower is, basically, there are two brothers, a CIA agent, and you have a priest. They're both brothers. However, the CIA guy, I know his name just slipped out of my tongue. I'll remember it eventually. Basically, the CIA agent unfortunately died, but he never went to the I'll just show you quickly. He never went to the afterlife. He was stuck in limbo. Long story short, they're basically stuck in a war between versus mafia, kind of like anti-government sort of facilities and obviously supernatural beings. So they're kind of in the cross path and trying to figure out who they are, what they are, and pretty much counter both these forces. Now, I won't get too much into the actual story. I do recommend you read the actual comic, but pretty much, in order for Haunt, which is this character, to exist in the human realm, the deceased CIA, God, for a fan, I just the names just slipped. Pretty much. Looks pretty impressive. Sorry, just got decided. So, you know what I will do? I'm going to put this on the base, and I'm going to Google that, because it's shocking that I don't even know the name. But once I find the name, man, don't you just hate it when there's something in the tip of your tongue and it doesn't click? And it kind of makes this whole kind of review quite interesting. Let's see, character. Here we go. Daniel Kilgore and Kurt Kilgore. There we go. Man, I feel like an idiot. Pretty much, Daniel Kilgore is a priest. Well, you can really call him a priest. He's committed sins throughout. And Kurt Kilgore is basically his brother, a deceased agent. Now, in order for them to establish Haunt, to coexist as Haunt, I haven't put this on the base. So, in order for this character to coexist, basically come alive in the spirit, not the non-spiritual world, but in the human world, Kurt basically infuses himself with his brother Daniel, which thus becomes the character Haunt. Now, their powers are limited based on the physical stamina of the physical body of Daniel. However, at the current time anyway, all the abilities, or like all these little ectoplasm, if you can really call them that, or this residue, is mustered up by Kurt. So they kind of need to coexist with each other. However, they need to be in unison in order for this to power. Long story short, these little extensions, I'm going to just call it ectoplasm for the sake of calling it ectoplasm. Or you can call it, Haunt jizz if you can. you can really call it that. But is part of an extension of their bodies. Basically, they can form blades for now. They can form spiritual shields. They can kind of do the whole Spider-Man swing for the, but it all connects part of the body. So the more he uses it, the more energy that gets used, etc., etc. That's pretty much the summation of it without getting too much in the nitty-gritty. The reason why I gave you the backstory and the reason why I reluctantly didn't had a brain phase is just to show you the complete and utter beauty of the actual detail of the statue. From his shins, from the haunt jizz, as I'm going to call it now, is absolutely superb. And what's even mad is just his facial description. Not facial description, but his facial beauty. It kind of gives you this vampiric sort of death hallow sort of feel that you would expect from a vampire sort of aspect for her. And in a way, you could say he is a vampire. Not so much the whole sparkly like Twilight or the whole suck the blood sort of Twilight, but just the way his face looks, just the way he creates up to people. Very, very beautifully. I really cannot say much about it. Just the way he looks, it's impressive beyond all means. Now, I haven't even attached everything else because, that's what I do in a review like this. Okay. Here are his arms, which I'm going to plug in. I should have done that before. I should have done that before. Before I do it, I'll just show you the hands. Pretty well done. I think so, anyway. The only drawback I have on this, if at all, would probably be that the arms are extremely hard to put in without any rigorous force into it. So if you're worried about that, yeah, I can see why they did it the way they did it, but I'm really bummed about it. Put that there and take this out. Once again, I'll show you the beauty of the, I wouldn't say articulation. The only nifty fact, I hope this captures it, you can see the coloration of one piece, which is his hand, but you also see the ectoplasm, the haunt jizz, is how I'm going to call it, and it kind of a different form. It blends well, but it looks off at the same time. I'm not surely, I hope you can see it. It's very hard to see with the cam that I'm currently using. Well, that's the best view you can get. You can do two different colorations. It's not bad, it's just, obviously they glued this piece to that piece, which isn't bad. Like, don't get me wrong, this is not a bad piece. It's just you can obviously see the difference, which you would not want to, but you can, which is a bother sometimes. I'm just gonna stack this here. There we go. There we go. I'm going to put this aside for now. And that is the actual itself. Impressive by all means, I will say so. Now, as I mentioned, the gimmick, for the most part, if you can really call it a gimmick, it's got a rotating base. I say this is awesome simply because from a collector's point of view, for those who may or may not have statues, I'm a big fan of wanting to pose, obviously not statues but like figurines, but in this case statues, to have to pose statues in certain ways without affecting the overall dimension of the actual the actual statue. By that I mean certain bezels, certain bases always have like a front piece. In this case, you have a little front piece which has Todd McFarlane's signature and all that, and in other cases other statues. And if you want to pose his back or his front or whatever, you will need to change everything, the whole angle, say move it around. So you no longer see the front bezel, but you do see the side, which looks impressive, which you can obviously see. Oh, you can even see his spines there. Awesome. But what he's done, mind you, like I said, I haven't seen every single statue in the world, so I can't say if he's exclusively done this, but what he's done, which to me is really impressive, he's done a revolvable bezel. So if you want to basically, you wake up one morning, you say, you know what, I want Spawn to attack your other statues, move it around. Oh, let's have, why did I say Spawn? Haunt attack another statue, let's have him doing that. So you want him to run away, let's flip him around. You want him to turn in the other direction, facing away, possible Spawn statue, and Haunt's running away. There you go. So if you can really cause this, if you can really call this posability, which isn't, but for the most part, it's a nice little gimmick which I actually adore, and it's definitely awesome when I have this on a display piece and a friend of mine says, hey, I want to, is it okay if I pick it up? Whatever. Just said, you don't even have to pick it up. Just grab him by the bezel and just move him around, check out his absolute beauty, which for the most part they do. Unless they actually do want to pick it up, which I caution them to be careful. But yeah, for the most part, like I said, this statue is absolutely superb. Even if you're not a Haunt, fan, which I don't know if you may or may not be, it's definitely a nice piece as a standstill. If you're just a fan of Todd McFarlane's work, definitely a nice piece to pick up. But if you're a Haunt fan, look, it's definitely something that I would highly pick up. I'm not entirely sure if this is going to be rare in the future. If it is or it isn't, doesn't really concern me. I'm a fan of the Haunt, therefore obviously I'm reviewing this. So for the most part, like I said, there's no real flaw to it other than slight discoloration with certain areas. But yeah, so impressive. Oh god, you have no idea. When our friends come over and they have a look at it, they're like, Jesus, that's awesome. And that's when I say, hey, well, I got the comic, you can always check it out. Hey. I don't actually talk like that. Obviously, I don't. Anyway, guys, tell me what you think of this review. Obviously, I haven't seen this review on, YouTube or whatever, so it's definitely worth, check out, I suppose, if you're interested. Yeah, so check it out, see what your thinks are. If you like it, you hate it, whatever. Look, leave some comments, let me know, and we can go from there. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching this review, and stay tuned. I have another statues, Spawn, and other figurines to review. Guys, take care and peace out.